It's Tuesday, February 25th. Waking Up with Wesley starts right now. I'm Senior Meteorologist Wesley Williams. Thank you so much for joining me on this Digital Desk Update. It's Tuesday, and for some of you, it was a foggy morning. But for many of us, it was beautiful and clear. And we're going to take a look at some beautiful sunrise views that we saw earlier this morning with just a hint of crescent moon. We're also going to look at, from space, the view of the fog. It can be seen from a satellite, and we'll take a look at that. And we'll mention how we could see some more fog again tonight, and then look at the rest of the forecast into the rest of the week, including this weekend. So let's get started without further ado. So there's a look at the latest alert. The time is now 8:41 a.m. and there is still, for the next 19 minutes, dense fog advisory for Stone and George counties. And then at 9 a.m. that's expected to expire. I had a hunch during Good Morning Mississippi that we would not get that coastal advisory to go all the way to 10 a.m. It was originally expected to go through 10 a.m., but as you can see, the coastal county is no longer included in that alert. And let's get to the view from space. Well, before we do, let's get to the visibility map. So let's see what the visibility looks like. Now, this is an estimated visibility. We show this a lot on TV. So it is based in the data that you're seeing is based off of observations from weather stations nearby, and then it kind of draws an area that it thinks is the foggiest based on reports from actual weather stations. And as you can see, our 6 southernmost counties showing no fog, but if we zoom out, look at this area over Houston, Texas, much of central and western Louisiana, and even toward Jackson, Mississippi. And you can even see how there's just this little bitty area of it that stretches down from near Jackson, down toward Hattiesburg, and then it just kind of thins out once it gets to Hattiesburg. Okay, so keep that in mind when I'm about to switch over to this view from satellite. And check this out. So this is the satellite. It's been running. This is a loop over the last few hours. So it's from nighttime to daylight. And this is just on the National Weather Service's website. Anyone can see the satellite view. And yeah, there is one frame where there's some yellow bars that pop up. I guess that was an error in some of the data. But regardless of the little yellow bars that pop up, you can clearly see this area here. I'm trying to highlight it with my mouse. From Texas, from near Houston, Texas. There's Houston, Texas right there. Plenty of fog. Over into Louisiana, plenty of fog. And then into Mississippi, plenty of fog. And there's Jackson. You can tell by the overnight street light map showing that area right there. And then watch how the fog kind of really traces down the Pearl River just like that. Right there onto the Pearl River County line where it meets the Louisiana state line near Bogalusa. Fog always tends to fall into valleys. It kind of sinks. It sinks into the lowest most elevation. So the riverbed would be the lowest elevation, the Pearl Riverbed there. And so that fog would have kind of sunk right to the riverbed and then just rolled down along the river, which is also the state line. You had the same thing happen with the Pascagoula River. The Pascagoula River runs over here, and you can see that's where we had some of that fog showing up into portions of George County and portions of Jackson County because that fog ran down the river, that low elevation, and rolled right down into those areas. But where you were away from the Pearl River and away from the Pascagoula River, basically much of our coastline, Hancock and Harrison counties, didn't really get much of that fog compared to elsewhere. So pretty cool how the observations match up with exactly what we are seeing from the satellite from space that's orbiting the Earth. So science, it's so cool when things kind of make sense when you're looking at all the information and data. Speaking of looking at the information, we had a really cool time lapse this morning. I want to see if I can pull that up for you. Yes, we've got that right here. And it might, let me make sure the times are correct on this before I roll it. Yeah, it's going too long. Let's make it stop at 7 a.m. And then Really, it can stop at 6:40 a.m. That's probably better. All right, so we've reset the time, the end time, and now we're going to hit the play button on it. And yeah, so what I want you to do is watch this right-hand side of the screen. Let me grab my other pointer. This right-hand side of the screen right here, because the crescent moon is going to rise over the Gulf and move over to the right, and then right behind it, the sun is going to rise. So take a look at this time lapse. There it is. There's the crescent moon. You can see it there on the right side getting higher and higher. And now the sky is all bright, and then the sun comes up right after that. A really cool view. And one of my favorite things I like to point out about the crescent moon is if we rewind this, let's rewind. So right about here, and let's put a pause so I can point with my arrow. So you see the moon, how the left side of it is illuminated and the right side of it is not illuminated. Well, that illumination obviously comes from the sun. So when you kind of think about putting all the pieces into place in our celestial heavens, in our sky and everything, you realize that that illuminated portion of the crescent moon is actually shining and pointing directly at where the sun will be in the sky on the horizon when it rises. So it's kind of like a little cheat code, if you will, for some. Maybe there's some people who do morning photography. You probably already know this. But I look at these cameras every morning, and I've looked at them every morning for, you know, almost a decade now. So I've noticed this pattern where if you watch for where the center point of the crescent moon is illuminated, and kind of draw a line from there. I guess I could draw this line from the center. Well, I missed. Let's try one more time. I'm probably going to miss again. It's not too shabby. So draw a point from there to the horizon like that. And it basically points at the exact moment or the exact part of the sky that the sun is going to rise. I'm curious if I hit play on this, is it going to be right? I was kind of wrong because it went up a little bit more. But yeah, it's not that far, right? That was pretty close. So yeah, I love that. Well, anyway, you know who else loved the crescent moon view? Teresa. She sent us this picture in the WLOX weather app this morning showing that crescent moon. It was bright, clear sky, so you really couldn't miss it. And remember, when the moon is changing phases, it's not like part of the moon is disappearing. The whole moon is still there. It's just part of it is illuminated, and the other part is the dark side of the moon, as they say. So in this picture, you can see the whole thing there because you got such a high quality camera. You can see even the non-illuminated portion of the moon still there. But yes, the most lit part, the crescent part, obviously shines more brightly and is much easier to see. Again, another thank you to Teresa. I've thanked you already this morning a number of times, but there's another one for sending that picture to us in the WLOX weather app. And if any of you are ever wanting to share your pictures or videos with us, you can submit them directly to our weather app, or you can send them to our website at WLOX.com. So let's take a quick look at the forecast. There's not a whole lot going on weather-wise here today other than it's just being a nice, beautiful day. I really strongly encourage you to make plans to spend a few hours outside today, taking in that sunshine, remembering the sun shades. We actually have a high UV index today. This is one of the first times this year I have noted a high UV index. Most of the days earlier this year has been either a low or moderate. Today is high. The sun angle is getting higher in the sky as we move further from winter and closer to spring. So you might notice that sun a bit more directly on you as you're outside, and maybe some of you may want to consider even throwing on some sunscreen if you're going to spend many hours outside today. But look at those temperatures, 70s. It's a far cry from last week when we had highs in the 40s. And remember also last week, we had bitter cold wind chills in the teens. But instead, today, we're just looking at those pleasantly mild 70s. I think that places like Biloxi could be a high of 72. Places like Wiggins, a high of 74. Places like Moss Point, Pascagoula could be a high about 75. And we'll take now a look at the next 7 days. See if I can pull that up for you. So the latest thinking here over the next 7 days is there's no big cold snaps coming. So as you go from now through Big Parade weekend, don't plan on breaking out the heavy winter coats. There's not a whole bunch of sweater weather. We are going to see cool mornings each morning. You can see those numbers at the bottom, all showing 40s and 50s. So each morning is going to be cool or chilly. But each afternoon is pleasantly mild, decently enough for short sleeve shirts most days. One exception, we are tracking a cool front. That one's coming in Thursday with a low rain chance Thursday, about 20 to 30%. And then a small cool down Friday when the temperatures might come down to the upper 60s, which is still pretty nice. Weekend still looking nice. We'll look at low to mid 70s on Saturday and also on Sunday. I do want to show you the 10-day forecast right before we go, just to take a look at next week. Obviously, big holiday coming in with Lundi Gras and Fat Tuesday. And in the short term here, it is looking nice with low rain chance. Basically, all you got now through the weekend is 30%-ish on Thursday. However, I do want to continue to remind you that the rain chance for this coming Lundi Gras Monday is about 20%. And for next Tuesday, Fat Tuesday, is in the 30 to 40, maybe even 30 to 50% range. How nice it is to live in the 2020s in which we have technology to predict the future. It directly impacted what happened this past weekend when meteorologists and forecasters noticed that it would be rainy on Sunday and parade organizers postponed Sunday's parades on this past Saturday. They saw the forecast, they made a decision, and they made a change, and they're probably better off for it. Will that happen again this Fat Tuesday? Well, right now it's a little too early, but be keeping an eye on the forecast. Watch those trends, watch whether those chances go up or trend down. Right now it's still showing about 30%, but as we keep adjusting the information each day, if that chance goes up, parade organizers pay attention, and maybe you may need to make some adjustments. I hope not, because back in my day, we went to parades rain or shine. You needed at least a volcano or an earthquake or a major hurricane or something like that to make people not go to a hurricane. So I hope even if we do see rain next Monday and Tuesday that, it just go. But that's me talking as a participant. As an attendant, person attending a parade. I know it can be a different viewpoint for those actually participating in parades because you've invested a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of energy into your outfits, into your decorations, into your planning. And so it might be a different perspective for whether you make your decision and your call to make adjustments to the plans. But as an attendant to a parade, I'd be there rain or shine myself, just going to catch some throws. So yeah, that'll basically do it for this edition of Waking Up with Wesley. Now you are better informed about what's to come. And a quick reminder that even though we do have clear skies this morning, there can be another round of fog tonight. So don't be caught off guard by that. Keep an eye out for that into early Wednesday. We will have another possibility of fog in the area. So you heard it here first. Well, we'll catch you in the next video. Take care, everybody.